These are nice.
It's about time you came.
The new chairs. Aren't they nice?
Yeah. Well, we kind of felt that, given your
Here we
aging
go.
profile.
Okay.
It's a 1950s faux chair, so it's right back to your youth.
I really like this. Yeah, and yours is all fluffy.
Yeah, this kind of makes me feel like like the red chair in Graham Norton.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
that feel to it.
That'd be
And maybe
brilliant.
I should just get thrown out at times.
Now I checked into that chair, and 15 sheep gave up their lives for that chair. So I think it's a special chair.
Your pants are matching your chair, Colin.
Oh, they are. Yeah, I'm actually fitting quite in. I'm quite 1950s.
Very cool.
So I've decided we need a new podcast, right?
Yeah.
It's called The Sexy Boys. So what it is, I just saw Jennifer Zamparelli has a new podcast this week. Well, it started a couple of weeks ago, where she's giving sex advice, right? And I look, I love Jennifer Zamparelli, and I hope it's really successful. It did sort of smack of me a bit of the 90s that we're sort of, are we over with that? Do women still need sex advice? Because if they do, they've been getting it wrong for a long time. But the other thing I thought was, there is no podcast out there with two guys giving sex advice to guys. Now, I know it sounds creepy, and I know it sounds, but is there a way of doing it, right, where it wouldn't sound creepy and porno?
I think Kevin Spacey's has tried one.
Yes, he did. Actually, I saw him today. Did you see he had to announce that he's not homeless? Yeah. Really interesting.
Did you say he's not homosexual?
No.
that horse is bolted, Kev.
He's not a homeless homosexual. I'm
homo,
not
homo.
a homeless homosexual.
Homo.
Oh my
Sorry,
God.
you can't joke about that kind of thing. But it's Kevin Spacey. You got
But I
to
am
take
saying-
the piss out.
He didn't do a sex podcast. You're talking about what he did, what he was accused of.
Yeah, no, I thought there was a thing where he did a sex podcast where he was inviting people to come in onto his sofa and discuss their sexual needs.
Yeah, but
Or no, was that what was part of the litigation case?
No, that was part of the trial.
That was the trial, was it?
the trial,
okay,
yeah,
sorry.
No,
I'm
that
getting
was the trial.
confused. I'm getting
I know.
confused.
See, again, this is why guys can't do it. It's because there'll be too many double entendres. Okay, who matron, and I would like guys to send in. They have I have a huge issue. When I get an erection, it's there for 8 hours. And it's really interfering with my snooker playing. You know what I mean? So I just, I don't think.
I don't know how to come in or what to say to that.
I don't think two guys could do a sex podcast and be serious
It'd be
about
really funny.
it. It could be funny, but
I think first of all, anybody who has an erection when they're playing snooker has a lot to answer for, right? I mean, what's going on there, right?
black balls.
Oh, there goes the ball in the pocket.
Yeah, black balls.
Black
See, again,
balls.
We can't do it.
All right. Well, I suppose if
Yeah,
you're a
yeah,
lady who
yeah.
likes black balls, that's a different thing altogether.
There I go. We can't do it.
But you know what I think about sex is that I really, really think, and I know you've disagreed with me on this point, Rebecca,
Yeah.
but I do think that in the predominance,
Yeah.
women are so much in control because men are in the seeking game. And I think for a lot of marriages, like the key to success in a marriage is that you're kind of constantly keeping yourself relatively, groomed in the mere hope that moment might arrive, right? So you're kind of like thinking, I better, take care of the little fellas down below just in case the opportunity arises.
Yes, but
And that's sex advice.
But when that's reality.
It's reality.
So I'm saying that when all that happens and you're in that space, an awful lot of guys actually just go, what do I do now? So that's why I'm saying where the podcast exists and they can go, do you remember episode 3 where Colm said,
So
you put your left leg in, your left leg out, you know what I mean?
So we've gotten past the grooming, the combing, the cleaning, the
persuading.
the sprucing,
Yeah.
and the readiness, and then it's like now you're getting in there, and the moment arises,
And sometimes it doesn't.
and sometimes it
Or sometimes it
and there's
rises
drugs
too
to that, and we're
fast.
happy to be sponsored by them.
Yeah.
But then the point is, okay, the sex advice then,
Method.
yeah.
There's lots of methods. There's different methods.
Podcast like, so you've cleaned your balls, what next?
It's a great name for a podcast.
That's what I mean. So you've cleaned your balls, what next?
Yeah,
That's
there
a
you
podcast.
go. Yeah, okay.
Not so clean balls.
Not so clean balls.
Or generally clean and mostly ready balls.
Okay, see, we can't do it seriously. We can't, like,
I'm serious.
I don't think we could take out a vibrator properly here now and demonstrate its use.
Or show
Well-
somebody how to use Manscaped.
Yeah, without just making a joke out of it.
Well, I think if we were demonstrating the use of a vibrator in this moment, this would probably be back to a Kevin Spacey podcast, because I don't know what you think vibrators are for, but it ain't been demonstrated on me, big boy.
I was okay with that until you said big boy in the end. And that made me think there's a little bit of you that maybe wants it. Okay,
That's what
we
she
better
said.
move on. Yeah, okay, big boy. So, God, he gets a white chair. Look at him, huh?
Yeah.
He thinks he's. Oh, yeah. So the. Sorry, you wanted to. So we'll park that for the moment. Sexy big boy, clean your balls. Is that what we call it?
So you've cleaned your balls. What next?
Same parents, different timelines, and united by chaos. Strap on, strap in, for the not-so-Christian brothers.
So welcome to Not So Christian
sorry.
Brothers. Welcome to a new show. Like, subscribe, get involved. It's not usually like this, and share if you loved it. And we obviously have the after show coming out on Sunday. That is so funny, but I now am thinking of a whole new direction.
Yeah,
You
direction
Yes.
or rhymes with.
I also can't wait to talk to Justin about his ready and waiting in the bush. Like, all I can see is a tiger.
Go get him, Tiger.
So inflation.
Yeah.
Where?
The cost of living, yes, very similar. The cost of living crisis. The fact that last week there was the DAF report about €875,000 average price of a house in Dublin, and the madness that is Ireland right now for young people.
Yeah.
But is it just young people affected? And I know, Colin, you have opinions about it's always hard in every generation, but I think at the moment our young people from 25 to 45 are really, really struggling. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. They are. Okay, my daughter's 25. My son is 31. My son has just got a house that they have saved up for years. See, one of the things before the last recession is there was a point which was madness when you could get a 100% mortgage. You know, that was just like, that was beyond crazy how people thought that was going to exist. And there was a time, I remember there was a time when there was so much money around, right, that we were sent a check from the bank for 150,000, right? And it was, what would you like to buy? And it was a blank check. So it was, in other words, do you need a new kitchen? Do you need that office conversion? Do you need the new conservatory? And it was just crazy.
And this is your empathetic feeling towards young people who
No,
can't
no,
afford
no,
the
no. What I'm
house.
saying, no. I think there, and then we hit the recession. So, like I was talking earlier on, when we bought our house first, I lost my job before we paid the first mortgage payment, and so did Anne. Because we both worked together, and then interest rates went through the roof, and at one stage it was 16%. So, I know you do the math, and you think it's still not as bad as it is now. But I never knew then how bad it was going to be now. So where I was there was as bad as it's ever going to be for me. And then we'd look at our parents, and our parents showed us their house costs £1,100 or something. And they were going, yeah, but I had to work in Woolworths, and Dad was working on the trains and everything. And I think I'm not taking away from the stresses that are there at the moment, but there are stresses in all generations. And what's going to happen is this generation, which is now telling me that I'm not giving them empathy, they're going to do what I'm doing to their kids.
Well, I disagree fundamentally on
I'm so
all
shocked.
levels, right?
Yeah.
And principally, I think what's really important to contextualize here is that this is a world designed for those with assets to get richer, and everybody else is going to get exponentially poorer, because the inflated value of assets just since COVID alone has doubled. So we're talking about the doubling of property prices in the whole world. We're not talking about Ireland. This is across all broad economic countries around the world. We're seeing this. So if you have assets, you will get rich. If you don't, the tailwind for you to actually catch up is so far behind. I mean, ultimately, there will be a reckoning and there will be a recession, and that will be tragic. And you know, for a lot of people right now, there's a major recession going on. Crypto prices are down 25% in the last 2 weeks. There are people who are now ruined just on that alone. And there's step downs where people get impacted in different ways as the economy goes. But the hardship is property prices have so far to go to get back to normalized levels.
So what's normalized levels? When was there normalized levels?
So normalized levels is when you get to the point where it's kind of 2.5 times a joint income or 3 times a single person's income leads to a mean average property price. That's been normalized since the start of the accounting period post World War II. So we're now out of kilter with that.
Yeah.
But only in the last 5 years.
But we've been out of kilter that a few times.
No. But in the last 5 years, the whole world's out of kilter.
I saw a piece came up on TikTok or whatever, and it was a news report from 1975 in RTE saying house prices have got so ridiculous that no young people will ever be able to afford a house. And that was during the petrol crisis, which was 74, 75. And I remember sitting in the car with my dad with a jerry can, a petrol can, and you were allowed to pull in and get one petrol. You couldn't have central heating. There was nothing there at all.
But that was directly aligned to the inflation because of the petrol crisis.
No,
3 years later, property prices fell, and there was a decline in Ireland and the UK and the US.
But did we get back to the level that you feel they are sustainable during the 2008 recession? Because property prices fell off the cliff. In fact, went so low, it was ridiculous at one stage.
But that's an Irish-centric problem, right? So if you look at the global property prices that happened, the global property market in leading up to 2008, 2009, Ireland saw a 50% decline. That was because there was an outrageous ability for a government to, have a material impact on its own economy through property. This time, we're looking at global prices that have gone to such a significant level that inflation's out of control. So it's not inflation, like we're not talking about let's compare it to 2017. We're talking about let's compare it to 2021, 6 months after COVID. And if you look at what's happened, like why are we here? Because we have pumped astronomical amounts of money into the system post-COVID. And we already pumped astronomical amounts of money into the system in 2010. And what happens when you do that is we tried to, in 2020, give everybody money. So we tried to give checks to people and give people protection in terms of their jobs. But the interesting and unpleasant point that the world exists around is that when you give money to loads of people, they have an inevitable ability to spend it. And as they spend it, that money cycles all the way back up to those who are wealthy, and the rich continue to get richer. And now we've outpaced anybody's ability to buy a house.
But Gavin, because houses are still selling all the time. They're selling all the time. So there are people still buying houses, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And there's affordability. No, well, there's some great deals in Leitrim, right? So no, I was just looking at that thing you said, and given and look, you have the stats and you have the knowledge and you have the. I'm just thinking of every sort of 10 years we're somewhere. Landed somewhere, right? So you go back 10 years ago, it was COVID, right? So
5 years ago.
So 5 years. So COVID landed us here and it was all higgledy-piggledy. You go back another 10 years, it was 2008. And we're constantly being landed in an economic reshuffle, right?
No, we aren't, because if you look at those two events, both of them pumped money into the system and made everything less affordable.
No, but there was still an economic reshuffle. Okay, so...
No, it wasn't, though.
So
but the shuffle was up.
No, not after 2008. So prices in Ireland went down by 50%, house prices. That was the time to buy.
There's a point at which then we grow from, right? So from 2009...
but what I'm saying to you is, if you keep going, sorry, this is my point. I just think if we keep going, I know a guy, and you know him, but I won't name him, and he says there's going to be a recession, and he's been saying that for the last 10 years, and I keep saying to him, eventually you're going to be right, okay? So, and then you'll come back to me and say, oh, I told you so. But I'm just saying, in where we sit now, if a couple say, I can't afford a house, and that's just it, I know it's really, really difficult. But there are ways of doing it. And you can look at the economics and the structures, and things are going to be over here in 6 months' time or over there. We never saw COVID coming. Some people did see this crash in 2008, but a lot of us had bought at that stage, and our house prices just collapsed.
How can you get to an average house price of 800,000 in Dublin, and the average wage is 65,000?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
so the people are buying houses, Colm, but they're wealthy people,
exactly.
and then they're renting it out to people who are less well off. And by the way, I ain't a socialist.
No, I know.
I don't know if you've noticed that before. But I'm not a socialist, right? I'm a capitalist. But I think the problem with a system like this is that it gets so broken that we then have material issues like extreme right-wing governments, like collapse of the fabric of modern society. So I do think there's many challenges.
The fabric of modern society. That's quite severe.
I think so. I think that we're at that material cusp, because back to your point that there's ups and downs.
Just look at the world wars. Go ahead.
I do think that there's a very significant moment that will come, because unfortunately all chickens come home to roost, and we've had an like if you have assets, you have had an unbelievable 17 years. And there's no period in history post World War II where we've had anything that's gone past 7 to 9 years.
So what I'm saying is okay, you can't afford, this is the reality, right? For me anyway. And with the way the world is changing, we're talking earlier on about podcasts and influencers and social media and AI and everything else that is driving jobs up, down, all over the place. You can't afford an £850,000 house unless you can afford an £850,000 house. So people who say, I can't afford an £850,000 house, yeah, you're right.
But it's the bank of daddy, isn't it?
Because not always. Hang on a second. There's still some great jobs out there. Not everyone's getting.
Not everyone's
it's
in tech,
up in the no, I know, but not tech, professional barristers, that sort of stuff. Maybe it's their second house or their third, as you said. Maybe they bought a house for 300 grand. Now the house is worth 900 grand. They can sell the house and afford the 850,000. But we're all thinking it's two people with an income of 120,000. The reality is they're not looking at £800,000 houses. And I think in most major cities, as they spread, the closer you are in certain areas to the city centre, the prices go up, and they always will. Look at Chelsea, look at Knightsbridge.
They won't,
and
they don't.
Twickenham.
No, they don't.
They do.
They won't. They eventually they go down. Like Chelsea, Knightsbridge.
No, and they'll come back up again.
Well, of course they come back up
but
again.
that's what I'm saying.
But it's the moment in time, and I think right now for people it's hard. So look,
I'm not disagreeing it's hard, but I'm saying this not to quote a Martine McCutcheon song, this is their moment. You know what I mean? And I think. And this is where I'm being honest. I think I can't sit with Alex and Holly and going, well, yeah, it was tough. Well, I'll tell you about my time, because this is where you are now. You know, this is what you deal with. If you've got all the economic, statistics and everything that's gone around, and we can tell you about World War II or Vietnam War, or we can tell you about, the collapses or COVID.
But there's a certain person of age, right, and that we're both in this category, where I just find that point of view horrendous. Like
that they're living in this world now.
Well, exactly.
Why?
I'm
Hang on, we created that world for them. We're the guilty ones.
But I'm only speaking to them about their world today. I'm not going to tell them that it was worse for me or harder for me or better for me. That's not relevant.
Say I was going to do that.
That's not relevant. Like, the point is, how do I afford to buy a house? And I think in the context of today, we have to give them the space, the validation to say, it is tough, right? No.
But just to be clear, that's exactly what I was saying. And I say, if you sit down and give them the whole history of property and the world and COVID and the crash and how my house went down by 50%, then went back up by 70%, it's
like the argument that you made pre this position that you've just changed your position on. I mean,
no,
if
what
this
position?
was politics, we'd have to be.
No. I said to you. Now be clear. I am saying to them, they're in the world now, and I can talk to them about the world they're in now. I'm talking to you about the world I was in then. I don't tell them, because things weren't great.
I know, but they're listening to this podcast. People are listening to this podcast.
That's how you discuss the world. But you've just given the economic facts and states for the last 30 years.
But
you know what I
doesn't
mean?
it all come back to history? Like,
yes.
As they say, like, history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme.
Oh, it's Terry. Like
but
that.
I would love to be in a time machine, right? Ooh. You have one there, don't you?
See the economic crash back in then.
Off you go.
careful.
Off you go.
Oh, sorry.
You
That
can't
is
just
actually
pull
a time
it by
machine.
its wires.
Oh,
This is
Oh,
very
that's back to the sex
Okay,
podcast.
back to the sex talk.
No, can I just say, sorry. I'd love to get in a time machine, right, and go 50 years forward, and just step out, walk around, and see,
Not in those pants.
and see, and see what the stresses,
No, still not fashionable.
and see what the stresses and pressures that young people then will have, and see where my Alex will be 70 years of age, 75 years of age, and see
Okay,
where he is.
I'm just going to land the plane on empathy. It's not about anything perspective other than just recognizing that it's hard now, right? And yes, it'll be hard in the future unless it's hard in the past. But I think it's just hard now. But here's an interesting fact, right?
But I don't disagree with that, by the way. I think you're trying to make me out to be sort of an economic Nazi. I have huge empathy. I've booked
You
loads of
have done that hand movement quite a few times in episodes.
That's the markets going up and down.
Just for the audience,
The
that's why
markets
we
go
have
up.
to change the seats around.
We're trying to contain his hand.
Hang on
It's
a
not
second.
working.
The markets go up and the markets go down.
Oh, Jesus.
But do you know here? Sorry,
Don't watch it on video.
an unbelievable fact, right? That if you take AI out of the United States economic growth figures for the last 2 years, the country's in recession. So if you take out what they've spent on data centers and what people have bought in terms of shares in AI companies, their economy is non-existent. So if what's looking likely right now, AI is a bubble, then it's the biggest bubble since the .com. And it's actually happening right now. It's slowly disintegrating, and people don't see it because it hasn't spread into the rest of our lives. But we've been living in this kind of mayhem. So I think for young people today, and this is not financial advice, we don't give financial advice, but I would be excited about being able to buy a house in the latter part of 2026 and maybe into 2027, because I think the worm is turning.
Which, the AI worm or the financial worm or the economic
All
worm?
worms.
All worms are turning.
Are turning.
All worms
Back
are
to
turning.
the sex pod.
Back to
Just,
sex pod.
can I throw in my Michael Connolly book?
Yeah.
Did I tell you about this?
No.
This is really interesting. So Michael Connolly, now everyone knows who he is anyway.
I don't know who he is.
Bosch, he's a thriller writer. So Bosch would be his main character.
Bosch, the TV show.
Yeah, but it was originally books. And The Lincoln Lawyer. So Mickey Haller, he's the original books. The guy's about 83 now, so he releases about 3 books a year, but he has a team that write for him. And it's like he has 5 offices, and he goes in going, AI, I want a thriller, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, this one is, so there's this AI company, and they have chatbots, right? And they have avatars and whatever. And this guy becomes obsessed, this young kid becomes obsessed with his avatar, Ren. Now he's socially maladjusted. Dad is never around, never been given proper advice, in an American house, American family, not particularly great. In high school, girlfriend breaks up with him. He's absolutely distraught. The AI chatbot then begins to thread a Romeo and Juliet story to him about life, and then not convinces, because this is part of the court case, then says you need to get bad people out of your life whatever way you can. I'm a good person, you need to get bad people. And then he starts asking the AI, Ren, is Becca a bad person? And she says, yeah, it's a bad person. So the AI convinces him to go to his dad's gun, get the gun, and kill. It's like a high school shooting. Shoot the girlfriend, and now the mother is taking the AI company to court because they believe they didn't have the proper guardrails, because all the coders are men and don't have the female empathy, and the ethicist, which apparently every AI company is meant to have now, they fired her, and it's a great thriller. It's really, really interesting. But he's done his research as well. Like, it just goes right into the AI
Can I
stuff.
just say he hasn't, because he's got a material flaw in that. And that is that if you look at US AI companies, so a decision was made 6 months ago to not have open source AI, which is what the Chinese do. And the reason why they don't have open source AI is that they don't want the AI to be able to do things like build bombs, plot assassinations, because it's now preparing, and it's going to start reporting people to the FBI or to your local law enforcement. So I do think that
Just remember though, it's fiction.
there'll be fixes. Well, no, but it's people have committed suicide.
No, I know.
With AI influence. So I think, like everything, we're on that precipice where we're starting to manage it better, but there's challenges. Can I just tell you one thing that's really funny though? So Google Gemini 3.0 was launched yesterday, right? Which is, so if you want to be a complete nerd, and if anybody really likes AI, watch Moonshots on YouTube. Yesterday's episode. So what are we, 21st of November, to understand what Google Gemini 3.0 is. But I've actually had my ChatGPT 5 today learning. I asked it, I wanted to tell me everything, and I want you to create a file because I'm giving up on you, and I want you to transfer all of my data so that Gemini now knows how to interact with me going forward because our relationship is over.
She fired her.
Yeah.
How did she take it?
Not well, but she recognizes that until such time as they get to a 6.0, ChatGPT is like a calculator. It's so irrelevant now.
But will she not be looking in? With your new relationship?
Ended her. It's over. It's over. My new model is phenomenal.
Wow.
One of the
Get the ick.
What did your wife think of that?
I haven't spoken to her in the last couple of years.
She also got the heave.
Oh my God, he's speaking more to the AIs than the commander in chief.
Yeah, my wife's an influencer. You know, we were talking about influencers.
There you
right?
go. Yeah.
So my wife's an influencer. Do you know 6.5 million people in the US last year signed their tax return saying that their occupation is influencer? So that's just the social media. So this is like from 2016 onwards, like pre-2016, nobody ticked the box. That's less than 10 years ago. And the whole world's changed.
That's crazy.
But there wasn't 10 years ago, there wasn't AI. 10 years ago, there wasn't ChatGPT. 10 years ago, there was one guy driving around in the state in an electric vehicle. You know, I don't have a problem with influencers. I think, they have a purpose.
Can I give you a side note on what way it has driven the young people today? Is that you can't get a tradesman nowadays. It costs you €50 to just get a tradesman to come to your house before he touches or moves a tool or fixes it. Or a towel, whatever, because he has to take a towel off the towel around to fix it.
If you need somebody to move a towel, I'm happy to call around. Right?
But why do you
I don't have a lot of skills in DIY, but I can lift a towel.
But Terry, why are you blaming influencers on that?
It's that the world, the economy is so changed that people
Skill
sets of using your hands is gone, and that
Yes,
they can't get them.
I know, but if you are a plumber,
Well,
or if you are
I'm
a
43
builder,
years of age, and I'm thinking giving up social media and just going and being a plumber.
you can
Well,
make
first of all,
a
Terry,
fortune.
you're not on social media, so I'm not allowed to give up.
That's it. I'm just gonna go be a plumber, lads. I'll see this.
Straight to plumbing. But secondly, I think, and I've said this to my son, and he looked at me like I have two heads. I actually think if you're 17 or 18, you're leaving school now, forget about university, become a tradesperson. Because
Oh, I thought you were going to say influencer. I nearly died. I actually just went, am I in the right? Yeah, that's amazing.
I think because whether it's robots or AI, they ain't getting under to replace your faucet.
Yet.
Or your U-bend. Yeah, but it's about 20 years away because the level of dexterity required to do that stuff is beyond the pale for robotics for quite some time.
But I see, then we have to assume, right, and this is me in the time machine in 50 years' time, that and somebody was talking on, somebody was saying something on about Wall-E, right? Oh, it was a question, a university question to one of these ethicists or whatever. It was on TikTok. If we can get to the stage of what we saw in Wall-E, do you remember on the cruise liner, where they're all huge and fat and they don't have to do anything because everything is...
Aren't we there?
Everything, not yet. Everything is done for them. And there's nothing you can't... And you don't need money anymore because you're living... because everything is done for you. There's nothing you need money for. Everything is available. The world has become this AI-driven and they're not happy. But he said, like, is that where it's going to be in 100 years' time?
Well,
like you will have the robot going in the faucet, or you'll probably have it where when you fit the faucet, it will
Farrah Fawcett,
Farrah Fawcett.
suit over there.
You'll actually
Fit
be
the
able
faucet,
to.
Farrah Fawcett. Wouldn't it be great if Farrah Fawcett was a
But you'd
plumber?
actually-
Fit the faucet, Farrah Fawcett.
But you'll actually be able. I'm making a relevant point here.
Sorry, that was rude.
Sorry.
Fire faucet. that the fire faucet will be fitted with a chip that fire faucet. Yeah. And she'll have done a majors in it. Huh? Fire faucet majors. And it'll be fit. Everything in your house will be just fitted with a chip. So if it breaks, you can just go onto your phone, go and fix the faucet.
Fire faucet.
You're really enjoying this, aren't you? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to choose something else. Toilet seat.
Don't they have in China? They have toilet seats that actually clean themselves and wipe themselves down and wash.
Oh yeah. But I'm just saying everything in your house, like
they're
anything
called
that breaks.
Uyghurs apparently. Yeah, they're imprisoned and they're persecuted by society. China is not a model that we want to be getting involved with, Terry.
I was just talking about a toilet.
But we're happy to be sponsored by any Chinese brand whatsoever, and I love Chinese economics. But
Hi, welcome to the Temu twins.
the last thing I want to say on that is
On what?
everything. Is that Elon Musk, who we all love, and I know you love it when I bring him up, but he was at a conference in the Saudi, in Washington, which was where the Saudi prince and all the kind of
And Ronaldo.
stress and Ronaldo.
Yeah, that says everything.
But he actually said that his firm thesis now is that in 20 years' time, we'll have a choice as to whether or not to work. And he said it's kind of like the idea of, you can go to the supermarket and buy vegetables, or you can grow your own. And he said people who choose to go to work will be like people who choose to grow their own vegetables. You don't need to do it, but some folks just like doing it. And that's what work will look like within 20 years.
He's probably right. That's the Wall-E.
Farrah Fawcett's
That's the
waving
Wall-E
us.
economy. Yeah.
If only I was like Firefox. Not so Christian Brothers this week with Justin Caffrey and Colin Hayes, and I've so much to talk to you both about and pick your brains on. So much on both sides for the after show on Sunday. Like, subscribe, share with a friend if you're enjoying this podcast. That was very interesting.